Greetings, adventurers, and welcome back to Abnormal Voyages. My name is David, and today we're going to be going 650 feet underground into the Strataca Salt Mines to see what exactly lies beneath the grounds of Kansas.
We're going to a place that you've never heard of before. It's Abnormal Voyages. You're gonna learn something new. We're gonna open new doors. It's Abnormal Voyages.
Before you begin your plunge underground into the salt mines, you're treated to a lobby that tells you a little bit about salt and kind of gives you some expectations of what to expect on your trip. There's certainly a lot to see before you actually enter the mine, so I highly suggest if you come check this out, that you give yourself plenty of time before the tour starts. These were the names of people that helped make it possible to open up this attraction. And then you're shown this really cool display case that actually shows you a lot of the minerals and rocks that have been found in these very mines. There are newspaper clippings and several pictures that lay out the timeline of the creation of this very mine that you're about to go into. Kind of from the beginning, where it was just a little bit of a hole, all the way to it being the 650 feet that it is now. I particularly enjoyed the samples where they show you what exactly it looked like at every 100 feet as they dug all the way down. Pretty interesting stuff. And as any geologist or budding archaeologist can tell you, there is no end to the number of things you can find hidden in the dirt. There was a lot to see, but now it was time to actually head into the mine. After putting on hard hats and watching a short educational video, we were shown to the elevator that was going to be taking us down, which was good because stairs would have been quite a pain.
Alright, you're going to feel air as you cross the threshold.
Alright, we're now going underground. I've sped up the speed of the loading and the going down, but to get as far down as we were going, it actually takes about 90 seconds of just straight down travel to reach the depth of where they're doing the mining. The elevator shaft was actually one of the first projects that they completed, and it was done with 2-foot thick cement all the way around, just to ensure that there was no collapses of anything that would hinder the elevator going up and down to take miners back and forth into the darkness. Going that rapidly, 650 feet down, is quite a change in elevation, so you actually feel your ears pop just like you would when you're on an airplane or something like that. It was a very interesting feeling, having never felt that going downwards. But soon enough, we had reached the ground level. It was a little bit scary knowing you were that far down underneath the earth, but mostly exciting. I couldn't wait to get in there and see what they had. Let's go learn about salt. This is a giant salt crystal, weighs about 6,000 pounds, came from inside this mine. We're actually going to travel deeper into the mine and catch a train so that they can take us further down and show us what's really going on below the surface. Way back in the Permian period, most of the central and southwest United States was actually covered in water, including this area here. And that's what caused the salt to be deposited where it is. Back in that time period, as you may have guessed, there was countless amounts of creatures and living things that were in the water, in the seaweed, all that kind of stuff. Unfortunately, some of them went completely extinct, like trilobites and little dinosaurs. So next time you have salt, remember, it may be actually pieces of dinosaur. Okay, maybe not really, but a lot of pieces of fossils have dissolved over the many ages and kind of incorporated into the salt. Graffiti on the wall here was the names of the men involved in blowing one of these last caverns open in development of this museum area. And this is one of the original carts that would take miners deeper into the mine. Almost reminds me of one of the modern day trolley cars up above. But I like the color scheme. The green and the white really go together well. And of course you had to have a big engine to help run everything there. These are some of the pieces of the tools they would use to drill holes in their excavation, as well as more equipment, back from the days when this area in particular was being mined. Some of the items used were massive, but I guess that makes sense considering how deep and how difficult mining was. Sometimes they would strip down a vehicle to make it as light as possible but still operational, and bring it down to help them move around the mines more. This truck is an example of just such a thing. Another example of a tool above ground coming underneath was this awesome looking tractor that was actually repurposed to help harvest salt instead of crops. One important thing to remember about mines is they had a pretty strict what goes down to the mine stays in the mine rule when it came to equipment and things like that. It was just too strenuous to bring too much stuff back and forth over and over again. So anything that went down tended to stay there. The host of the TV show Dirty Jobs, Mike Rowe, actually visited this very mine and did an entire episode. This car was how he got around down here. I just thought it was really cool to see this. Also on display was a little memorial that honored veterans who were miners who went off to war and to serve the military in any way that they could. Being in operation since 1932, of course, the war effort touched people here in the salt mines just like the rest of the world. Some of the salt companies actually put out different things like this to people, which was a war map that told people where the central conflicts were in the war. Very interesting. Coming down to the mines, you had to make sure that you were equipped and wearing the right clothes. This is just an example of the many things that they wore to do their job the best way they could.
This is where all the fun explosives were kept. TNT, things like that, to help them blow holes in the mine. Definitely no smoking around this one.
Explosives were a very important part of mining to help get through the caverns to find new areas. This was an example of the tools that were used to help do the explosives. And here we actually had some blast marks that were left behind from a particularly large explosion. You had to be very careful where you did your explosions, though. If something went wrong, you could cause the roof to collapse. Nobody wants that. You never think that something as simple and ordinary as salt had such a long history behind it, and such a process of what goes into getting it. There's loads of science behind the process of taking it from the mine and getting it ready for your table. I was really happy to get the chance to learn something new that I knew nothing about. After thoroughly exploring all the exhibits, we had reached the Salt Mine Express, and it was time to board the train.
All right, we've now boarded the train. We're gonna head deeper into the mine.
The first stop of our mine train journey was this example of a roof fall. Very rare, but very dangerous. As the name suggests, this event happens when the roof of the mining area becomes unstable and collapses downwards. You'll notice that opposed to a cave-in where the entire tunnel will collapse, this is only sections of the roof that would fall downward. This section of the mine is no longer used as part of the active mining operation and is left for visitors to get a glimpse into the salt world. This rail and minecart are original pieces from when mining was full steam ahead in this area. Though there are several different forms that the salt crystals mined here can become, a vast majority of the product in this particular area becomes salt rock to go on to do things like make icy roads safer in the wintertime. As I mentioned before, what goes in the mine stays in the mine was a very strong motto amongst the miners here. This was a massive pile of trash that was left over stretching back to the 60s, 50s, 40s, all swept up together, and it was just easier to leave it there than to drag it all back up.
And of course, we can't leave the mines without grabbing a piece of rock salt to bring back with us. Let's go.
Getting to plunge into the darkness and seeing a little of what really goes into salt mining was fascinating and a really enriching experience. To cap it all off, though, we discovered that these mines aren't only used for mining.
With the cooler temperatures and the very, very dry atmosphere down here, no moisture getting in, you might be surprised to learn this is the perfect place to store some very cool items.
Underground vaults and storages offer consumers the option to store valuable items in places such as this salt mine. It helps guard against terrorism, hurricanes, and other natural disasters such as tornadoes, earthquakes, fires, identity theft, anything like that may come along. You're able to store in here all the things that you really want to keep safe and sound. Hollywood, in particular, takes advantage of this service, and there are countless treasures that are kept safe here in the mines. One of the most famous items that they have is the original prints of The Wizard of Oz. Many modern-day movies also store props and treasures here, such as these Wonka bars from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Animation is also heavily represented. This is an original drawing of Bugs Bunny, a print from Tiny Toon Adventures, and the original Superman cartoon. Here's a drawing of Sylvester the Cat. Other types of data are also stored down here, ranging from businesses to medical records to things of historical significance. This is a little bit about the evolution of the ways things have been stored down here. From the earliest computers to reels to paper, anything you can imagine has been stored here underground. One of the really interesting pieces on display is a newspaper that came out the day after the assassination of Abraham Lincoln. It was surprising to see just how many different movies were represented here. This was from Charlie's Angels, followed by a piece that was used in Superman Returns to represent the Daily Planet in filming. The axe and shield of Achilles from Troy, and boxing gloves that Will Smith wore as he filmed Ali, along with other various props and mementos from the set. This shirt was used by James Dean in the filming of Giant, which you may remember us talking about in our episode about Marfa, and a whole collection that was used in Men in Black 2, including a pair of the famous shades worn by Tommy Lee Jones. All of these goodies are transported here in various ways from all over the world. Every corner of the country, and even other continents, send their things here to be safely stored. So things like this Dorothy 2 from Twister are taken care of and preserved for many centuries to come. Of course, what we see here is just a very small portion of what's actually kept in storage. For security reasons, people can't be allowed into the actual vaults, but they did a very good job of showing us a little of what they looked like. Stacked up in all these boxes would be movie prints, TV shows, props, you name it. Anything that needed to be preserved. Because you never know, maybe you'll need one of the Agent Smith clones from The Matrix eventually. An extra Superman suit. or even an outfit worn by Matt Damon in The Monument Men. Even comedies like Talladega Nights get their moment in the spotlight here, with some of the actual driving outfits used in the movie. But I gotta say, my favorite display was the Mr. Freeze outfit and the Batman outfit from Batman and Robin. Where else can you go over 600 feet underground and see some bat nipples? Safely back at the surface, this is where our journey ends. Thanks for tagging along. My name is David. This has been Abnormal Voyages. We'll see you next time. The city of New Orleans is known as the place to go if you're looking for a party. But underneath the music and the laughing, there is a darker side, filled with spooky legends and myths. So join us in this very special Halloween episode of Abnormal Voyages as we track down monsters in the swamp, learn the mystic powers of voodoo, and explore things that you can only find in the great city of New Orleans. We'll see you soon.